All right, forgot about that. Capture these skies. Capture these skies with you.
Did you guys notice that we have some new Ancient Wisdom posters on sale on the website?
Oh?
Yeah, dude. And they're all based on our original discoveries here on A-Dub. Thank you, my friend. We got the purist, the hopeful, the agnostic, and the escapist. What are you? Which are you and which are you trying to be? And of course, my favorite new gay one that we came up with last week, I switched it a little. It's the future, present, and past, which is fear, anger, desire. It's just a fad, man.
Good one.
Fear, anger, desire. Guys, it's just a fad. You'll get over it. It's just this life. But now that our sponsors are out of the way, let's get into it with episode 65 of Ancient Wisdom. How do I look in these glasses? Am I looking good?
Astute.
Oh, thank you, my friend, because we're going to get into some astute topics. We're dumber than ever, but we're back with Ancient Wisdom to get smart again. Get smart with us. I'm learning. Are you? Aesop had an ancient tale that I'd like to get into, and I think it illustrates quite well our theme of the day, which is called The Fox and the Grapes.
A fox?
A hungry fox sees some high-hanging grapes and tries repeatedly to reach them. He tries and he tries every way he can think of to attain these sweet-looking grapes. He fails, and he fails, and he fails. Until finally, he just walks away, asserting that the grapes were probably sour anyway. Now, what does this say to you? What do you think?
Sour anyway.
Sour anyway. It's kind of one of those counterintuitive ones. You're like, what? He gave up.
He's just justifying his law.
He's just justifying. He's just talking shit. Letting go of material desires. That guy said, I ain't about them anyway. Also, if you guys remember any tales of the ancient gurus and those who study underneath them, first of all, you have to really try to get the guru to teach you. And second of all, at the end, as they say, they always make you give up anyway. And that's when the enlightenment comes, when you see that there's really nothing to see.
These are all rooted in the fact that we think we have a self. That's what we came to last time.
You got it, my friend. And what tells us better about the self and who we are than the path of meditation, also known as Jnana Yoga in Chapter 6 of the Bhagavad Gita. Of the Bhagavad Gita. Of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, there you go.
Of the Bhagavad Gita.
There's so many versions of yoga.
Yeah. See, and also you gotta not get lost in the idea that yoga's just like white bitches in pants stretching. With all these goddamn Indians coming into America, I'm gonna have to learn Hindi pretty soon. So.
The stretching part is the one that got popular.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I never even thought about Hindi. That is the one to learn.
Yeah, that might be the one to learn if you want to be with the future.
So freaking many of those people.
Unfortunately, but here we go. Chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita.
I feel like I'm in Dalsim stage.
Oh, you are. Welcome to Dalsim stage. Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, he starts with saying something like, the conditioned soul is delivered via the mind. The mind can indeed be a great ally or a terrible enemy. Right off the bat, he's just getting into it. He's getting into it hard. Remember, the theme of today is going to be the path of meditation. It's deep mental focus. What can we do to attain this state? The state in which we've been talking about for the last few chapters here. And he's saying a conditioned soul, to get the soul in the condition, you're going to want to use the mind. It's delivered via the mind. right? Have you guys ever thought about that? Oh, does the soul necessarily need to be through the mind? Have you ever thought about that?
The soul need to be through the mind.
Right. Maybe you thought to yourself one day, like, dude, my voice is echoing in this cup.
Wow.
Maybe you thought to yourself that, like, oh, the soul is just the soul. Or whatever's good for the soul is good for the soul.
Are you saying that it needs a brain, a mind to carry out its
That's what this text
yoga,
is saying
its
right here.
dharmatic principles?
Absolutely. Deep mental focus, path of meditation, the theme of today. Conditioned soul is delivered via the mind. The first thing he says is like, hey, you trying to get that soul? Don't neglect the mind. Right?
Wow.
That was pretty interesting to me too, because I always thought, I'll speak for myself if y'all don't have an opinion, that the soul is just a soul.
Yeah, that the science is of the mind, and the soul is kind of more not of the brain.
Yeah,
it's
something
like in the
else.
hearts.
That the mind is the world, the soul is something else totally, but I guess they're saying this is a linking process.
The soul is like more of the heart, I feel like, than of the mind, where I would relate it to.
Yeah, I've heard the heart and the gut is where the soul is.
Now, you guys bring upon a very interesting point. I'll put it on the screen, but for those who don't know, in Chinese and Japanese, at least, I'm sure it carries over to different Eastern traditions. The word for heart in these languages is also translated as the heart mind. So in Chinese, it would be shin, and in Japanese, it would be kokoro, which is sort of the same concept of the heart mind. They don't say mind necessarily when they're thinking about things. They say the heart.
I'm not sure how you could neglect your mind. I feel like I don't intend to.
That's a good point. I like that. Evan's getting worldly with it. Let's get deeper, right? The mind can indeed be a great ally or a terrible enemy. There it is, Evan. It's right out of ancient texts. I think it's funny that they're like, dude, the mind, some hippie shit again, dangerously close. It could be a terrible enemy or
Oh,
great friend.
I'm feeling
Doesn't it seem it? Oh, what do we got?
I think it's like the mind is, I think he's saying, like, if you want to be spiritually happy, or if you want to, what was the whole point here that he was making? If you
Yeah,
want
that there's
to-
no way around the mind to
Yeah.
get to the soul, and it could be a friend or an enemy.
So if you want to get to the soul, it's like you almost can't do it in this life without passing through the brain. Like it's like the highway you have to drive.
The final boss.
Yeah.
I like, yeah, ooh.
Because we have no way of otherwise getting to the soul, because we are the mind.
I like
We
it.
have to deal with
Man.
it. We have to deal with it.
Super deep, right? So for he who has conquered the mind is a friend. But for he who has not conquered the mind remains an enemy. So now we're learning you must conquer said mind for it to be either friend or enemy.
Is because it'll lead you to temptation. It'll take you off the path of righteousness.
But I'm interested in the new word that we learned here, which is conquered. Isn't that an interesting word? Doesn't that feel like almost like the masculine love of the past?
For a second, I was like, how that could never apply to real life, to conquer an enemy and it becomes your friend.
Yeah.
But then you think deeper, that actually that does happen. If you stand up to someone, if you stand up to your enemy and you defeat them, you don't, as long as you're not getting a high off it, it feels like they can become your friend.
Yeah, there's a respect there now.
Yeah.
When they say conquer, it's not like destroy, not kill.
Right.
It's conquer, it's put into
Overcome.
place. Of course, my mind naturally goes to the feminine as well. My thought these last few months are like women are a danger to themselves. And doesn't that feel like the mind as well? Am I right? Doesn't that feel like the mind? The mind could be a danger to itself. That's what it's saying right here. And the word conquer is such a masculine form of love. Like, you wouldn't really say that nowadays. Conquer the mind. That sounds a little mean.
But of
Sounds
course,
a little rude.
But of course, every guy is thinking that when he's pursuing a woman, it is to conquer them. But if you were to say that
Absolutely.
that's what you're trying to do, they'd be like, "Oh my God,
There
help
it is.
me!"
The world's full of
police
lies now. Police.
You
He's
must
trying to conquer me.
harness the mind.
He's trying to conquer me.
What'd you
Got
say,
a
Punk?
conquering 10, folks.
Harness the mind.
Harness, right? That's like
That's
probably
what I would say.
probably more modern hippie word that they'd use.
You must harness the mind.
Harness,
Yeah.
man. We don't gotta conquer. Just
Harness.
So
harness it,
barbaric.
man. And I says barbaric, ancient love, ancient wisdom, masculine love. Let's go back. Genesis 1:28. Fill the earth and subdue it. Remember when God said that to Adam?
It sounds like conquer to me.
Conquer the dragon, man. Fill the earth and subdue it. Subdue. Would you guys relate that to conquer?
It's like he's saying
Sounds similar.
That's when he's saying manifest destiny, that it's yours to take control of.
I like that.
Subdue it.
Yeah, sweep kick it, take out your enemies.
That bitch. Sweep the leg.
Subdue the animals of the earth.
Yeah.
Make them do your bidding.
And then fill the earth, I imagine, means like take control of that bitch and have a lot of babies out there. The normal stuff. But here we go, right? My question about conquer and subdue, these words, right, is what does this mean? Does it mean that the mind hates you? Is that the mind is in a natural state your enemy? Is the enemy born within? That's what this is saying, is it not?
It's the lizard brain.
You are born with an enemy within, lizard brain.
You're born with a lizard.
I'm born with a lizard in my brain. My God.
That's pretty deep if you think, if it's still true that we can only use a certain amount of our brain, a certain percentage of our brain. Like, what is the other functions going on? What are the other functions going on without our awareness of it?
Well, I've heard there are multiple minds in the brain.
Right. Lizard,
Whoa.
monkey, and then neocortex.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lizard is just like, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
And then the monkey's like, I'm about to beat that bitch for his food. And
The monkey's a gangster.
How to go
monkey's
to
the
war.
gangster mind. You could call it that. Yeah, try to go to war. But the neocortex is like, I think that's what I am. But does this not also remind you of original sin? Being born with an enemy within? Isn't it interesting how these two traditions are so similar? Original sin. The mind is within you, but if you haven't conquered it, it's an enemy. I'm born with original sin. From Adam and Eve, original sin. It's in me anyway.
Whoa, I've never heard of original sin, original being used as a synonym for inherent.
Oh,
kind of thing.
yeah.
It's been there forever since the start.
It's been there, like it's like this curse that we're born with. It also reminds me of the modern stuff of Christopher Columbus and the Indians. Like, we hate Christopher Columbus in the modern day because he conquered the lands.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, indigenous. So we have to give the indigenous people a holiday. Let's give the mind a holiday instead of the human itself.
Because they got messed up by Columbus.
Yep.
It's your day.
Let's celebrate the losers.
Mitch, you're in a very
makes
conquering
sense.
mood this morning.
Yeah. I apologize.
Conquer the earth.
Conquer, subdue.
in your monkey brain.
Jeez, yeah, I'm in my monkey. I gotta get to the
He's in the
neocortex
gangster
at one
monkey.
point. I'm a gangster monkey. That's our new T-shirt. Gangster monkey brain. For one who has conquered the mind, he attains tranquility. To him, cold and heat, happiness and distress, honor and dishonor are all the same.
That's hard to wrap my mind around.
Now, these are the superpowers of the awakened ones. Do you believe it? I'll tell you what. Cold and heat, I'm pretty close to that. Just being real. Happiness and distress, not as close, but closer. Honor and dishonor, woo! That's a tough one. That is divine. It almost feels like a step here.
I feel like that's a really tough one to just say honor and dishonor.
That's a tough one. That's got to be the toughest one.
Equalized. That it's equalized. It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because if you are like really good at meditation, I suppose, and living in the moment, you could meditate out of happiness and fear and distress and cold and heat.
Right.
But honor and dishonor feels like something that's hanging over your life that you can't control really that much.
I like that. I like these visualizations, right? And a lot of people think in the natural world, you're born, boys and men want to be heroes. They want glory. All the ancient poems and texts are written about glory. You want your name to be written forever. But this is saying, who cares?
Honor and dishonor you can get really reverse psychology with it too, because someone who dishonors you, at least they honored the fact that they're dishonest. You know, they haven't swayed your opinion on them. They're exactly who you expect them to be, kind of thing.
Damn.
A dishonorable can be honorable because you know what they are, kind of thing.
I like how Evan's being the world today, Poe just being the poem, and I'm being the gangsta monkey. Yeah, that's cool, right? If you have to equalize the two, like you could say they're the same.
Yeah.
But maybe that, dare I say that they might not exist at all.
This is madness.
You think so? This is madness. Go on.
How could you possibly?
It's tough. You know, I think about in the West, all we really have to look at is Jesus. Wouldn't you say that he felt that way? Let's use our Western minds, right? This is how we were born and raised. Would you say that Jesus felt honor and dishonor the same? He hung out with the dishonorable.
And he called out his friends for being little weenies.
There it is.
Yeah.
So he called him out. That's honorable.
Yeah. Well, you know, but
It's like bro code.
But he didn't. He knew they were dishonorable though, and that they were going to be dishonorable to him.
yeah,
But he still ate with them, you know, the night before.
right.
You know, he didn't say, "Screw you guys, I'm going to go wait until I die because you betrayed me."
Yeah, and how would you describe honor? It's kind of like how other people see you. You want other people to see you in a certain way. That's what honor is. Right? Am I wrong
you
in that?
can't really have like who are you going to be honorable towards if there's no society built around you,
I like that,
right?
yep.
Can you have honor on a deserted island by yourself?
You could have self-respect, but maybe that's
Self-respect.
different.
Yeah.
Maybe
You're
that's
not-
like
you're
a
not
different thing. Yeah.
Honoring yourself. You need other people.
Because
to
I just
honor.
think about somebody whose name is totally tarnished. Perhaps they've done some good things in the world, but now
David
the name's...
Childress.
David Childress. Why'd you show up on Ancient Aliens?
Totally
You had a
tarnished.
perfectly good career. Now they think you're some sort of pseudoscientist. Which brings me to my next question, right? Do you think it's harder in the West now and then? Because in the West, all we have is Jesus to look at. But I think, so the tradition goes throughout time in the East, they had many of these people who claimed, or there were stories about this awakened one who had really no aversion to the cold, the heat, happiness, distress.
Wow. You're really starting to make me think different on that topic of honor and dishonor, whether it even exists at all. Like,
Yeah, there
your
it
first
is.
premise.
Boom.
Because whether Jesus believed in honor or dishonor or not, it still didn't affect what happened to him and how the people around him treated him.
Yeah.
And you apply that to your own life, at least I can. It's like you put too much weight into how other people see you as a decent person, as honorable or dishonorable.
Yeah.
And then you can be honorable for so long, and then you do one slip up where someone like has a judgment of you, and then they hate you, and then they talk shit.
Yeah. And maybe it affects you too. Be yourself.
Don't stress about it.
Don't worry about what other people think of you. I think what I mean by is it harder in the West is that maybe at one time the East seemed like it was more spiritual, and the West has always been burdened by materiality. But it seems like now anyway it's all the same. Am I right?
Yep.
You think you're in America if you're in China, if you're in Japan, if you're in India, in certain places anyway. It's kind of all the same. Everyone, the West, the idea, the mindset of the West has disseminated and infected the entire world now.
Infected. Strong language, Mitch.
Dare I say, and I shall elaborate. Because this yogi who is spiritually situated and centrally controlled sees stones as equal to gold. Is there anyone who sees stone as equal to gold these days?
All stone, just everything lying around is so amazing.
Everything the
gold.
same, honor and dishonor. It's all the same. Stones, it's gold. It is in their mind.
You know what? I like this because I used to say something like, Mitch, every place is just as good as every other place.
That's a good one. Follow
know?
that logic. I like that.
And why would I be in Miami Beach? Why?
Yep.
It's just as good to be in the location I'm sitting in this wooden chair.
I think so. And yeah, follow that mindset a little bit. I think sometimes people say, oh, they think you're going to move to a different place. It's going to solve your problems. I'm depressed here in this state. I'm going to move to that one.
Changing locations.
Yeah. But
There
you
may
still
be
have you.
there may be some things that you're leaving from though, which would be a relief, but other things will still fill the place of those bad things you get away from.
Yeah, well put, exactly. And like, it's so hard to even imagine a mindset where stones are as equal to gold. What does that imply, right? Either stones have a lot of value or gold doesn't have value. Where are you?
Or
Comment.
Gold.
or maybe at the end of life they all have the same value anyways.
There it is.
Man, I didn't think I got that one. That was
Yep.
just a guess. All right.
There it is. It's all of this really is, how much do you value life? How much are you tied up, entangled, they said. We said in the last episode. Entangled in life. Do you think this life is it or do you not? And I think these are the ancient Eastern tradition of the Tao, the Hindu texts. They're like the shit test. Am I right? Oh, I could say I believe in Jesus, I'm Christian, I'm whatever all day, God. Oh, I'm not afraid of death, I'll be with Lord. But do you see stones as equal to gold? Or do you not?
You still have.
Am I right?
You still have the mega giga preachers in the mega churches that are like, you can get all the money you want, God will reward you.
Yeah, that's just like a weird bastardization. Not only is gold great, but if you're a good Christian, you should be rich.
I evangelized the Bible and God
I've
has
seen that
rewarded me.
before.
If you need a car, you'll get one.
Yeah, that's like 3 steps ahead of.
So I love those guys.
They are entertaining. God damn it, they deserve every cent. But yeah, it is pretty demonic when you really think about it, because all these ancient traditions, even Christianity, Jesus is trying to tell us, hey, don't store up your treasures in this world. Store them up for heaven.
And it reminded me earlier in the Bhagavad Gita where it was the argument they were saying a lot how material is the greatest temptation in this life.
Oh yes.
And
The lust, the material.
and it seems like our Western culture of being so pro-material has really spread.
Yeah.
It's that so much that they forgot their own teachings about material being evil.
Yeah, it's that Western mindset. It really is. Again, I wasn't in the ancient times.
What?
Wish I was. that's my brand. I was there. I've seen it and I could teach you.
Like
No.
you're from the past.
Yeah. Why am I even watching this fucking podcast? Thought this guy knew what he was talking about. But where's like,
Mitch is actually from the present.
oh no! Shut up! Shut up! You're such a mouth punch. All right. So
From the present.
it's from the. That's so good. So I think a lot of times we could get swept up in this idea of the ancient East was so peaceful and oh my goodness, friend. Everyone was meditating all the time.
Floating.
And probably more than the West, but I'm sure it wasn't perfect, so. And as he further advances, he regards all friends, enemies, belligerents, benefactors, saints, sinners with equal intelligence. This is just, we're even going farther than gold and stone. We're even going farther than honor and dishonor here.
You have to go as far as saying that this guy is smart as me.
It's a tough one because they use the word intelligence. No, he's never as smart as me.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's mystery because intelligence is like, is it from my intelligence? Or are they just as intelligent? Or are we viewing, like our first paragraph, the mind as the way to the soul? In this analysis.
In other words, I think it's trying to say that there are no hierarchies in this divine realm. Like all humans pretty much are exactly the same. And that's why I think men have a better time at not letting societal ranking affect their opinions of others. Like women do that a lot. They really talk to you like you're a piece of garbage.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're seen as a lower social status or like have a low-paying job or something like that.
Right. Okay, what do you guys think about this? Yogis should live in a clean and secluded place and meditate on the Supreme. Now, I remember Poj said he had a problem with this, right, a while ago, which was something to the effect of, why should I have to be secluded? Shouldn't somebody be able to embrace the world? Am I correct, Poj?
I think I did mention this. But now I'm thinking that this yogi is asking for a lot.
This yogi is getting a little...
And now he wants his own room.
Build your own room, man.
First he wants my gold. Then I'm just kidding. But he's I don't think that you need to
That's just his way to trick you out of your gold.
Yeah, he's just tricking me out of all my stuff.
Oh, gold and rocks are the same.
He's a scam
I'll take your
artist.
gold.
To get to that point of peace with meditation, I feel like it'll be a little bit easier if you make your surrounding immediate environment in order too. Not, I don't want to reference the Jordan Peterson thing though, but like when you're in a clean, comfortable area, I feel like it might be easier to get to that point.
They say in ancient traditions as well, I don't know, feng shui and shit like that, the area in which you reside represents the mind. Cluttered room, cluttered mind. Me and Evan were also talking a while ago about, they say the bedroom should be for sleeping. Don't study in the bedroom. Don't work in the bed, because then you will subconsciously affect your sleep. Places, much like places in the mind, and they are representative, have to have their unique and distinct functions for a pure lifestyle. And I gotta say, I am started to separate from the idea of those who say face the world. It's a beautiful thought. You gotta face the world. You gotta be out there. You gotta be doing it. But the point is, from what we've learned from this chapter, is to not embrace the world. Am I right? Is to separate. How are you going to be out in the world seeing stones as gold?
It's definitely not a Western concept over here.
Yeah, for sure. And it may be too intense to embrace for the worldly.
Yeah, it seems a little egotistical to go and subdue the world, or like go conquer and face the world, because I feel like no matter what you do, the world's going to try to fight you anyways.
Right, from that
you don't
Western
have to
context.
do anything.
Yeah,
it'll just come to you.
Interesting. Oh, so that you bring up a really deep point that I don't even know if you knew you were saying.
Maybe I did.
In the West, we say conquer the world. In the East, they say conquer the mind, which is a way to the soul.
The mind is the world in the East.
There it is. That's why we have such a worldly thing in the West. And that's why the West has taken over the world. And of course, we're talking ancient concepts. But now the West has taken over the entire world. You got to go to Papua New Guinea to get away from the West. You got to go to like certain shitty, poop-ridden streets of India to get away from the West. Certain, very secluded, but somehow that Western ideal has taken over. And that's why, what's his name? That famous atheist says, I'm a cultural Christian, because he grew up in that tradition.
Christopher Hitchens?
No, the other guy.
Richard Dawkins?
Dawkins says, I'm a cultural Christian. He's like, I don't believe any of it, but I grew up in that tradition. I know it. There's probably some subconscious biases around it.
I go to church every Sunday.
I go to church. The usual stuff.
That's a fair argument. At least he acknowledges that it's shaped him.
Yeah, he's not stupid in that sense. Like, that's so fucking true. It really is. Look within yourself. Even if you're not Christian, if you're born in America, most likely, I mean, at least before the new millennium, you're probably culturally
if you didn't just get here.
Yeah, if you didn't like just
arrive yesterday.
Yeah, you're born. What was I born yesterday? Oh, you fall out of a coconut tree?
I was born an iPad baby.
Oh man, I'm jealous.
I'm jealous.
Those who eat or sleep too much or too little cannot be successful in yoga. Huh? Balance is necessary to overcome all difficulties. Now, this one was interesting to hear, too. From what I've heard in the ancient traditions is like, don't eat anything. I never sleep, man.
I was having this
The
thought.
ancient
They
words
say,
of Juicy J.
mind, body, spirit. And the other day I was thinking, no. Body, mind, spirit.
BMS.
Because I don't think you can do mind, body. I don't think you can conquer the mind before you conquer the body.
Cool.
Because the mind lives in the body. If your body is really out of shape, you cannot conquer the mind.
Yeah.
I think it starts with the body is number
Damn,
one.
that's a tough one.
Unfortunately, it's very basic and primitive.
I need to meditate on that one, but that feels real to me anyway. Mm-hmm. Right? Like the body, it's like you
Comes
can kind
first.
of force yourself to do stuff. Instinct.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe the reptilian or the mammalian brain there. You got to do stuff. It's about doing. It's about not dying. Then you could think, therefore I am. You know? Then
you actually have to like get the
gotta be
blood
not
pumping
dead.
a little. Yeah,
You got to be not obese and dead.
exactly. Got to feel healthy
Right.
to have a good mind.
Okay, so that's cool. I've talked myself into it. Yeah, I like that.
Does that mean at that time don't eat too much or too little, or don't go too long without eating, or too long eating too much?
Up to you.
Don't go too long without eating too much or sleep too half times.
That's where the rules get convoluted for me.
So I'll simplify it and say that this sort of balance that's necessary to overcome all difficulties is, as we were saying, don't forget the theme, meditation, deep mental focus. Balance is not having a preference, right? It's sort of the balance of neither engaging with the world nor not engaging with the world.
Oh, don't freak out over it, kind of
Don't
thing.
freak out over. Do what you do. The mind creating the hell. If you don't conquer the mind, all it does is create hell. I am just drawn to pose the ancient artist analogy. Does it not feel like the ancient artist was gonna be an ancient artist? They didn't just make a decision and he really wanted to be a mailman.
But mail wasn't invented.
He really wanted to be the Pony Express. Okay, courier. He was always going to be an artist.
So why have honor if it was always going to happen?
Yeah.
Why?
Or why be caught up with a concept called honor?
If you were
In the
always going to
first
do
place.
that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel. You ever feel that way? Like moms are really good at this, or women just like getting under your skin. Don't you want to do this?
Maybe the
Don't you want to
honor.
do this?
Maybe the honor is like an unavoidable thing when you just become the best at your flow state and you're really doing your artwork so well. It's like, oh man, I wasn't trying to get honor, but people are giving me honor
Yeah.
because I'm this awesome artist, and it's like it's a curse.
Thus, it
almost.
becomes even more difficult. Dare I say?
It's like I didn't even ask for this. I didn't even want this. Now it's here.
Yeah, forged in flame. I really think that it feels divine in a lot of ways. Sometimes I think about people don't get honor in life, maybe because God knows that they couldn't handle it. But
Ooh, that's really deep, because
Just a thought.
honor can be associated with a lot of wealth, material wealth in the world. If people honor
yeah.
you, they're just going to want to.
especially in the West,
give
if you
their
have a
stuff
lot
to
of
you.
stuff, given what we said, you also get honor because that is the pinnacle of value in our Western world.
Right, and then that honor, your love for honor, kind of replaces your idea of God, which is to not have so much importance into either of them.
Exactly,
Whoa.
my friend. Well put.
And it's so much harder for people who think they're getting honor from people, but don't also realize that they could turn on a dime very quickly.
Yeah.
And then it's like you were never honored in the first place. Just look at all these celebrities that were shunned now, like Mel Gibson, just to name one.
Yeah, it's deep. When you're rich and famous, you totally can do this stuff. I saw this guy talking about Diddy, and he was being real. He's like, most people want to get to Diddy status so they can do stuff like that.
Wow.
Right?
Yep.
But we all lie to ourselves. Oh, I had
I
this
would
guy
never
at
do
my
that.
old job. Well, he was a crazy dude. He was the inspiration of our new track, Bank at Wendy's, coming out on our new album. But he also had a good line about, the only reason I don't have a better job is because I'm too moral. And I'm like, really, dog? Keep up with that copium. It's done you well. I'm like, the dude was 60 years old working at not a great place.
Yeah, but what he doesn't realize is that if he was offered a less moral job, he would probably still take it.
I'm sure he realizes that, but
Yeah,
he's
but it sounds
projecting
good.
the idea of honor.
He gets honor.
me because I could have done that, but I'm just too honorable. So what that means is, I say this phrase, forged in fire. Like, the more successful you get, the more hard it is to let go of the idea of success, because you are honorable, you are successful, and you have to let the mind not flicker and waver, because the unwavering mind of a yogi is like an unflickering lamp in a windless place.
That is the most fascinating candle flame to see. That's perfectly still, unbothered by any wind. It looks like it's not even a plasma at all, like it's a still object.
Yeah, and it's super cool because if you pay attention to the mind at any point, it is a flickering candle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not at peace. It's not like that. You know it.
There's always stuff jumping into your mind too that you got to say, like, wait a minute, I got to focus.
Yeah, seriously. And like, is that even causing more unfocus? And what is this unflickering lamp in a windless place? If the mind is flickering, like you said, it's still thinking about, oh, if I give money to charity, will I get out of this dishonor? You're still trying to escape this trap, right?
Is it always a trap that the mind is trying to work itself out of?
If you're flickering, here's the thing, right? I think this is such a beautiful analogy, beautiful visualization, because all it is unflickering.
Mm-hmm.
What that means is it's non-dual. It is what it is. It is the artist who just paints. He doesn't care about honor or dishonor. It is the guy, rich or poor, who gives money to charity or doesn't give money to charity. He just is an unflickering flame. The flickering itself is all the mind chatter, like you said. It is all the decisions. It is all the, is it stone or is it gold? Is it honor or is it dishonor? Should I or should I not? Where the unwavering mind of a yogi is unflickering. He is what it is. And there's a certain faith that comes with that, because you are given a life that's not Leonardo DiCaprio's. You thought I was going to say Da Vinci. You're not a rich and famous movie star, but you got a special role too. And since you're a piece of shit with no money, you have to have a little faith. You got to not waver. Oh, how do I get to be Leonardo DiCaprio? Oh.
That's a flicker.
And there's a flicker. There's the first, exactly.
And maybe Leonardo DiCaprio's too overwhelmed with his quote perfect life that he has one of those movie scenarios in his mind where it's like, I just want to know what it's like to be a regular guy.
Yeah, so you don't know. That's true.
So people don't see me and say hello everywhere. Maybe he just wants to go on a walk and be unnoticed by the world.
That tends to be a lot of these things with the celebrities, and the powerful concept of the grass is always greener. Because the grass is always greener. Have you guys noticed that with your life? It's a flickering mind. It almost never makes a difference. Should I do it? Should I not? My thing is, it's as simple as the worldly interpretation of, think about a decision you made a month ago, a year ago.
Wow.
Right?
That's a really good point.
Does it matter at all? Did it really change the outcome of everything? Or should I say, if it was a big decision, do you really regret it?
Yeah, it really is all your mindset. Because
would you have chose something else? No.
I've put too much weight on different jobs and switching and leaving places. But
flickering.
But when you look back, it's like, it was just a decision, and it's really just the mindset where you could make the grass greener.
Yeah, oh, that's cool, right? You think you're going to make it greener, and all these things that's coming out. Again, I like to talk to the uninitiated as well and say, recently the science has talked about most of your decisions are genetic anyway. The recent science talks about most of your political affiliations are genetic anyway. I think it's only it was a Marxist idea of the blank slate theory that you could just mold and form anyone into anything. That's not true.
No nature and nurture?
Not true. Yeah. Yeah, certainly. But of course, the debate is always how much of which.
Right.
And coming to find out, it's a lot more nature than we thought. So the science says, I leave it up for you to interpret and believe. But it's definitely not blank slate. which is all nurture, which is what the Marxists want to believe. I could form you to do anything. All that really does is just cause trauma.
In fact, I think one of the biggest reasons that I suffer in the world is when I suppress my instinct, my nature, and I do something that's fake or not what I might do.
Deep.
If it might be about the honor and dishonor thing somewhere in my mind.
That's cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's true. That's maybe if we all look within, I won't speak for everybody, but that seems to be one of the biggest. When you know you maybe sacrificed your personal integrity, that's not even me. Did something that's not even yourself. Like, oh shoot, why did I do that? I think that could be one of the worst feelings around.
Or why didn't I?
You can't stew on it. Or why didn't I? Yeah, why didn't I? But then again, stewing on it is the flickering flame. Yep. Maybe to be an indecisive piece of shit is what you're always going to be. And thus, this joyous state, the unflickering flame, is called samadhi, is beyond comprehension of the senses. This state is only achieved by practicing yoga with determination and optimism. Any words stick out to you with this one?
Optimism's hard.
There it is. That's probably the big one, right? Optimism is an interesting word. I feel like I always practice with optimism because I know the world is such a shitty place. I know I've been lied to so much. So when I hear these things, maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm a yogi. Who knows? You hear these things and I'm like, oh my God, my soul feels it to be true. I'm optimistic towards it because I'm like, I know it's better than this shit anyway. I'm sure heaven will be better than anything else right now. And that's why the joyous state is called samadhi, beyond the comprehension of the senses. Do you guys remember the story of Adiyogi?
No. I forgot
you
that
don't? So this was like, I don't know, 10, 15,000 years ago. The guy who created yoga, Adiyogi, he said that when he found yogi, kind of like the Buddha, he ended up just sitting under a tree and just crying all day. He would just sit there and cry, and his followers would come up to him. Oh my God, what's he doing? He was fine. He was sitting there, but he was just crying. Makes me think of, you guys watch Demon Slayer. That's like the stone Hashira. It was like the strongest of the Demon Slayer Hashira, which means pillar in Japanese. He was just this huge tough guy, and he's always crying. He just has tears on his face at all times. And I'm like, whoa, samadhi, it's this state of perfect bliss with the being of the universe. You're sort of out of the world, but your body still remains in it as an unflickering flame, because maybe you have that optimism on the way, but I think it becomes a faith, or it becomes a state where none of these words make sense anyway, because it just is. But in meditation, the unsteady mind may wander again and again, here and there. But the yogi always pulls it back to focus on God and keep it under control. On this show, we call it the mustard seed, is being present with the thoughts, at least. Then you could have this idea like, whoa, you have enough presence of mind to say, I've wandered. I got to get back. I got to pull it back a little bit to have that, to eventually be able to conquer the mind.
And I think that first time is what takes the longest to do. Because I think my first time ever
Perhaps
pulling my mind back, or coming back and looking at my mind objectively, first time I did that was probably like 23 years old.
It's deep. It's the hardest one. It's the mustard seed. Because what is that? It's the Big Bang. It's so funny how mustard seed, everyone knows it's so small. But it's also the Big Bang. It's also the hugest thing on planet Earth. You're lucky to have experienced it at 23. Maybe some people go lifetimes without experiencing something like this. Because why is it the Big Bang? Because it's nothing to something. Yeah. It may be small.
I was just going to say that, like, is the catalyst to a big thing not the same as the big thing?
There it is.
That's so deep.
And what is big? It's still nothing to something. We could be small for all you know.
Wow.
It's just nothing to something.
What is big? Something small. And what is small? Something big. That's pretty crazy.
We have like 4 T-shirt designs today. Oh, this wall is going to be filled with posters or something like that. How does one conquer the mind? It's training it on a short leash. You
I was
gotta
just
pull
about
it
to
back.
say, like, is my mind this dog going around, and I gotta just like really bring it back,
Perhaps it is. This is saying, and it makes sense. You can't
sniffing around.
You really can't afford to let it off the leash ever. You could keep it on the leash. It can wander. You got to pull it back.
But it
some
can't
people think,
go-
oh, I'm sure it's fine. It can wander free right now. I ain't doing nothing. But you won't conquer it that way.
I think it's just keep it on the leash.
Yeah. Well, I'll also just say that I've always seen this as kind of demons in the Western world, the demons pulling you away from God, right? Because we've defined the Western sense as controlling the world, being the divine spirit God. And in the East, we've defined it as the mind is what is to be conquered, leading to God and the spirit. Correct? You with me? Mm-hmm. So in the Western tradition, as I've been raised, I've always seen it as these demons pulling me away from my mind, pulling me away from the world, pulling me away from God, the conduit to God. And maybe there's not much difference because we know that it's just the enemy born within. Arjuna's hitting back on behalf of us. Given the mind is restless and wavering, this practice is highly unrealistic. What? Oh, Krishna, it is far simpler to control the wind than the mind, which is stubborn, wavering, dominating, and agitated. Wow.
The mind wants to be windy. It wants the wind. It wants to be windy. It's prone
Maybe that's
to
why I've
windiness.
always seen it as sort of like a demon, because it's not me.
It's like, why is
would
his
it
mind
win?
so flickering and so windy? Like, what's
Yeah,
going
who's
on?
doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
Not me. It's
That's what
not-
I'm trying to get at.
Arjuna goes on to ask, what happens to the yogi who begins in good faith and then falters? I don't know if I could do this. It's like controlling the wind, attaining neither worldly success nor spiritual success. I can't be Leo and I can't be Buddha. Who am I? But if you really think about it, that's most of us.
Sounds like what most modern day Americans feel. Kind of just
Especially now, they
Giving
want to
up.
be awake and they
Yeah.
want to be enlightened. This world is becoming shittier and shittier by the day. You're like, maybe I should just figure out this religion stuff. Everyone's getting back to Christianity now. The young people especially. It's kind of crazy. There's this reawakening. It's natural. My dad was a baby boomer, and he's wondering, why ain't no one having kids now? That's how he speaks. And I said, Dad, what? I said, what? You're a baby boomer. What was the baby boom exactly? Can you answer that for me? and I don't know, man, shit. And I'm like, well, Father, the baby boom was when people felt so good about life after the war that they were compelled to fuck and have tons of kids. Everything was so cheap. Life was great. You could get a job. America was booming. But now, life fucking sucks. Understand? You with me? It sucks now. Therefore, people don't feel optimistic about the future. Therefore, they don't have families and babies.
I don't understand.
I don't understand. Come on, man. I'm like, Dad,
What
I
changed?
gotta go. What changed? What really changed? Y'all a bunch of aren't you? I'm like, Dad, I gotta go. But but finally, Krishna puts our minds at ease. Oh, this is gonna be the most heavenly. Listen close. A person on this auspicious path will never meet misfortune. He is never defeated by spiritual forces. Wow. Almost like the mustard seed, but a little deeper. He's saying, if you're even on this path, if you even had the balls to wake up to it and take tangible steps on this path, you will never meet misfortune. And if we really think about that, and not like a modern piece of shit now, our lives are fairly good compared to the past. We've lost a lot. Don't get me wrong. But I was just thinking last night, wow, we have grocery stores. That's like something kings didn't have back in the day. So do count your blessings. Remember that
We have Amazon.
we have Amazon. Like, there are a lot of fun, cool things that keep you alive, as well as losing a lot of the essentials. But still, so I just think it's funny that, you know, you won't really meet misfortune if you're on the path. And it's almost as if, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, the path itself is a certain form of divinity.
It's about the journey.
Oh, it's almost as if we're meant to be ensnared by the journey, and that the spiritual path, even the path, is getting off of the ensnarement, maybe in a smaller way, maybe the path itself is just separating and realizing that they exist.
You're confined by something at the end of the day. There's no escape.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So it's almost like the Chinese finger trap. The more you relax, the easier it is.
But is your mind at ease hearing this? This put my mind way at ease. This is the deepest part. If you're on the path, you'll never meet misfortune. Do you believe that? Comment. The thought of being off the path is that which is the flickering. But you're always on the path. Oh, I made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. You're where you're supposed to be.
Can't get off that path.
You can't get off. Oh, that's super deep. In fact, I'm sure of it now. That's super cool.
And there's no such thing as a path.
Oh, there it is. See, these
which
are the
is a
things.
path in itself.
That's deep.
To not be on a path.
Wow, we're getting deep today. Heck yeah, I like that a lot. So on death, the unsuccessful yogi goes to heaven and enjoys virtuous company. I'll go on, but isn't this interesting? He's unsuccessful, yet still goes to heaven. And after a long period of enjoyment, he takes birth again in a spiritual or wealthy family. Damn! He goes to heaven. He's reborn in a good state. But yeah, I typically go with the thought that maybe God rewards the yogi on the path with a conducive environment or like-minded people, you know, in a spiritual or wealthy family. But anyway, to finish off here, we got by renewing his efforts in this new life, in controlling the mind, he makes further progress. After many births, he may achieve the supreme goal. Man, it is a step in the right direction, Krishna's saying, and he is giving us hope that if we at least try to attain the mustard seed and attempt some form of path, that we will be rewarded and we can continue this journey. Don't give up. Don't get depressed. Continue on with an unflickering mind.
I love that unflickering mind imagery.
Heck yeah, right? So let's stick with that for this week, guys. Unflickering mind. And until then, let's get into some different Eastern tradition with Mitch translates the Tao. Heck yeah. So this week we got Mitch translates the Tao, chapter 46. While Tao is in the world, racehorses are used for their dung. While Tao is absent from the world, war horses breed in the suburbs. There is no greater sin than not knowing what is enough. There is no greater misfortune than desire. Therefore, knowing when enough is enough, one always has enough. Gotta love that last line.
This first line is crazy.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the toughest part. What do you think?
The racehorses being used for their dung.
Yeah.
So
poetic here.
If there is Tao, here's how I do this.
Let's break it down.
If there is Tao,
yeah.
you don't need to. Your racehorses, all they're used for is fertilizer because you don't race.
Right.
Because there's no purpose in racing.
Right.
You have Tao.
What is racing? It's a striving.
It's competition. It's striving.
Competition.
It's wanting
I gotta
to
be better.
beat. Yeah. It just paints the picture of wanting to win.
Yeah, the running horse. What are you running for, dog?
Unnecessary conquering.
Yeah.
Basically.
You don't need to win if you got Tao.
I think so. And the horse is just doing its natural thing. It's like, oh, you take a shit, I'll use that for fertilizer.
And the horse likes you better because you're not putting it through this rigmarole as it's here on this earth.
War horses bred in the suburbs. What do you think this means?
It seems like an unnecessary place to have war horses.
There it is. War horses are not meant to be in the suburbs, man.
Unless there's something dark going on, you know.
You know, if you don't know much about ancient Chinese city, what do they call that? Infrastructure. Yeah. Suburbs is where people are supposed to live and be chilling and kids are playing. You don't want war horses there. You want them on the front lines or, I don't know, around the city edges.
Without the values of the Tao, the war will enter the home.
Oh, that's deep.
AKA the suburbs.
I feel like I wrote my own Tao.
Yeah. Folger's Tao. The Tao, too, coming soon. I like that, too, because it's very on theme today as well. Like, I might get deep and hippie here a little bit, but...
Oh, don't you dare.
I know, I'll try to avoid it. But we talked about the mind and the world. What is the city if not sort of the world, right? The war horse is the conflict entering where it should not be. Parts of the mind. The part of the city that should be serene is now in conflict. Is that not unlike the mind? Why do we put it? Because it's also saying, and the reason for this is not knowing when enough is enough. We need more war. We need more territory. Whereas with the Tao, you just have the dung and you're like, all right, this is going to make us some good food next year.
Wow, that gets really deep because if the war is going on at your home in your city, you feel like the natural state of things is for the war to be going on over there somewhere else. It's not infiltrating this space.
That's super deep too, right? Because the war or the war horses are to protect me. Why are they around me?
Right.
We're supposed to separate that which is protected and the war of the protecting. That literally the separation is the protection itself. It's the distance between those two things. That's super deep. And of course, there is no greater sin than not knowing what is enough. Damn.
Makes me think earlier when you're talking about if you move, you think you'll escape something and get to a better situation.
Oh yeah.
But your home doesn't have to be the entire world. It could be wherever it needs to be at the time, but you're not going to go find a new home. The home is wherever you are, kind of thing.
Yeah, grass is
very
always
metaphorical.
greener. You always have to deal with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's no greater misfortune than desire. Kind of the same thing. We're ending with the same theme. Enough is enough. I want more. I want in general. Why don't I have? This is not enough. I have supermarkets, but I still want to be Leo DiCaprio. Why? You're on your own journey. You're doing your own thing anyway.
And even at a supermarket, you can't find what you really want to eat anyways. At least that's how it seems for me lately.
Yep. Therefore, knowing when enough is enough, one always has enough. That's the only time when you could have enough. It's almost basic. It's almost, dare I say, common knowledge again, if you really think about it logically. If you have enough, you have enough.
If you don't know,
if you don't have enough, you don't have enough.
If you don't know how much is enough, you can have too much.
That's true.
That's what they're saying here.
That's true. The logic follows. Damn. So guys, know what's good about your life. Know what you have. Be at peace with your surrounding because God has given you your own life and your own journey and your own problems to overcome. They're for you, man. And let's get through them together. Let's learn from the ancients. This has been episode 65 of Ancient Wisdom. Catch you next time.
Capture these skies. Capture these skies with you.